Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Investing Leech. So in this week's episode, we'll be looking at the REITs in retail. Okay, namely these three REITs: Capitaland Mall Trust, Frasers Centerpoint Trust, Leadlease Global Commercial REIT. Okay, I know there are many other retail REITs out there like Mapletree Commercial Trust, Capital Retail, Mapletree North Asia Trust, but I would like to focus on these three today, but which will cover the rest in other episodes. Okay, which I will explain why later. So before I begin, just a disclaimer alert that I am actually a shareholder of these three stocks. So I'm just sharing some of my insights as a perspective of being a shareholder on why I choose to invest in these stocks. Okay, so first, before we begin, I would like to show you some useful tools that you can use. There are a few stock screeners out there that gives you really quick information that you can come to know about what stocks that you would like to look at, the financials, the ratios that you will want to find out. So first one, we have Seedly over here. Okay, what I like about Seedly is that for each REIT, let's say we are looking at Capitaland Mall Trust, you can just click on it, okay, and it gives you quite an in-depth view of what CMT has and what you need to know about them. So they do some analysis on their own as well, as I shared previously, on the 10 step on how they decide whether the REITs is worth investing. Okay, and from there you can go on to the main site of Capitaland Mall Trust itself. Okay, to take a look at things that need to understand and what constitutes of the REITs in the portfolio. Okay, other than this, we have S-REITs from data from the fifth person. Okay, now what I really like about their live updates screener is that their ratios are more or less correct and updated compared to Seedly ones. So you might see some discrepancy there. However, the most accurate ones that you want to go to would be SGX stock screener. Okay, and the last one, another stocks tracker from investment modes. Okay, you have the REITs, and it purely highlights out what you need to look at. Okay, so for example, Fraser Centerpoint Mall, I can see the company financial ratios, the price to book, the dividend yield. Okay, so without further ado, let's go in deep to look at these three REITs. Now, let's look at Capitaland Mall Trust first. Now, as you can see over here in the map, Capitaland Mall Trust has quite a diverse mix of malls. They have a group that is concentrated in town and some out in the Heartland Mall as well. So you can understand that Capitaland Mall Trust is actually a mix of retail play in the CBD area and some in the Heartland Mall. Okay, for Fraser, their property portfolio mainly are looking at the Heartland malls. Okay, as you can see, Causeway Point, North Point City, Waterway Point, Anchor Point, UT Point, Changi City Point, Bedok Point. So mainly, you can see that most malls that has the name Point in it, most likely it belongs to Fraser Centerpoint Trust. Okay, and the last one would be Leadlease. Okay, Leadlease is a newly listed REIT last year. Okay, so mainly it consists of two property right now, 313 Somerset. Okay, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, and one overseas called the Sky Complex. Okay, now what is interesting about this Sky Complex is that it's actually a commercial building, okay, that is mainly taken up by this television broadcast, okay, uh, broadcaster. Okay, now what you need to understand is that why is this broadcaster important in the rental of Sky Complex is that it actually hold on to a very long lease, okay, that which guarantees that Leadlease Global would have a tenant staying in the complex, okay, with which they don't have to worry about within 1 or 2 years there is another new tenant that they have to look for. Okay, and Sky Complex, or those who are watching soccer would not be familiar would be familiar with the name Sky Sports. Okay, now some of you do actually ask me, hey, investing Leech, isn't Leadlease quite a common name in Singapore? I see it in malls like PLQ, Parkway Parade, or even Gem. But you got to understand that uh, not all shopping malls are being selected and putting the REITs. So these are some of the things that you can look into as well. Okay, in future where they decided, oh, they want to do some expansion, they want to purchase more property. Okay, which I will discuss this later. Okay, so you can see in the three REITs that we have went through, Capitaland Mall Trust is a mix of retail malls in the CBD area and some in the heartland. Frasers Centerpoint focus is more towards the heartland. Okay, I would say most of it. And then Lease will be a focus on 313 Somerset property and the Sky Complex in Milan. Now, I would just like to share this investment report that I have found from DBS. Okay, they do bring up quite a few things. I'm going to bring it to you in comparison. Then after that, we will take a look at the financial ratio before I conclude on today's video. Okay, so this report was actually done right before the lockdown in February. Okay, so do take these reports with a pinch of salt to understand that this might not be as accurate as what we are in right now, but it does give you a clear idea of how these three REITs are performing. Okay, so if you look at the occupancy rate right now, they are all more or less quite healthy on a high 90 or 100% range for CMT, SCT, and Leadlease Global over here, 99.2%. Okay, the gearing ratio is still healthy. FCT is on 32, CMT is on 32.9, and LL is on slightly higher side on 34. But for my own view, I believe anything below 40 will be a safe mix. Okay, whereas you compare to other REITs like MANCT with 37.1. Okay, looking at the distribution price per unit, the DPU trends, you can see that FCT and CMT has been giving out steady DPU. There was a slight drop for SCT in some of the quarter last year. For LL, it's a new REIT, so you don't really have a clear idea yet. And CMT has been going up. So some of you do then ask me, hey Leech, what about the COVID-19? Is COVID-19 going to affect DPU? So as what the government has actually mentioned, that this REITs holder can sponsors can actually choose to withhold some of the dividend to be given out at the later part of the year before it ends. Okay, so you can expect things to go back to normal past 2020 period. Okay, so looking at these three financial ratios, we believe that CMT, FCT, and LL is doing at an okay range. Okay, and as well as there are reliefs given, so you can see exactly what type of relief is given for each mall. Okay, so for Fraser Property Limited, they have been giving out, same for CMT as well. Okay, no info on Leadlease over here. So now let's look at some of the recent news that have developed for these three REIT. Now, Capitaland Mall Trust, as I mentioned last episode, it has proposed a merger with Capitaland Commercial Trust, which is the REIT, the office arm of Capitaland. So it's going to be a diversified portfolio that mix retail and commercial together. This deal is looking to be done within these few months. Okay, and you can see that many people have been looking forward to this as they will become one of the third largest REIT in Singapore based on market cap. For Fraser Centerpoint, okay, portfolio of suburban retail malls is important. Why? Because phase 2 is starting soon, as we all know it, and many people are looking to come back to the malls to spend. Okay, which will be a target more for the suburban retail malls, as people tend not to want to travel out too far to risk yourself, getting infected by COVID. So many people are actually looking at Fraser Centerpoint as a beneficial REIT coming out from phase one, moving into phase two of the lockdown in Singapore. Leadlease Global have quite a few announcements recently. There is additional 1,000 square foot to be deployed across 313. So they are going to get more land to allow them to collect more rental and to get tenant in. Okay, and recently, just yesterday, Leadlease have secured the space in the public car park right behind 313 Somerset, okay, at Grange Road. I think some of you should be quite familiar with the area, especially if you are driving. Okay, so they have actually won the bid to redevelop this open air car park. Okay, so again, it's positive news for Leadlease REIT. And the last part, we would like to want to look at the financial ratio for these three REIT. So first we have Capital Mall Trust. Okay, it's trading at 205, the last price. As you can see, the last few days there was a quite a big sell down on Thursday and Friday, but we closed strong actually because of the sell down in the US markets. Okay, so now it's trading at $2.05. It has a distribution yield of 5.84. So from our previous episode where we talked about, we are looking at distribution yield between 5 to 9. 5.8 is still acceptable yield. Okay, it's now trading slightly below the price to book ratio of 1 at 0.97. And the DPU, this is based on last year's reference. So you got to then look at again at the end of the year after they given out the full dividend, what has the DPU become? Has it dropped actually, or has it retained or gone up? Okay, but as we have mentioned, because this year COVID happened, so we won't be expecting much on the year, but looking ahead. Okay, I would just like to draw your attention to Capitaland Mall Trust chart. Okay, so it closed on Friday at $2.05. I would just want you to take a look at the chart across 6 months. So you can see before COVID, it's actually trading at quite a rather high price, about 250 to 260 range, which COVID happened, which bring it to see a low of $1.52. Okay, that's where it start to pick back up as we go through circuit breaker and into phase one to where we are today. So to me, my analysis is that I believe that if you look long term, and this is one of the stock in which you will want to hold on and collect steady dividend, Capitaland Mall is definitely one to look at. Okay, as you have heard of the name and you have seen what the malls traffic are like, you should have a clear understanding of whether this stock is resilient enough to cope and go through COVID towards the next few years, okay, whether it will come back to a 240, 250 range. If we look at the next one, Fraser Centerpoint Trust, okay, is currently trading at $2.39. Okay, it used to be a $3.50 stocks, okay, and now it's trading at $2.39. During COVID, it was even as low as $1.60, almost half of what it was trading at the peak. Okay, still distribution yield of 5.05, a decent yield, I would say, and price to book ratio of 1.15. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a short look at Fraser Centerpoint Trust price chart across the 6 month, and I'll just share some insights that I believe in. So as you can see, it was trading about $3 range slightly before COVID and lockdown take place. Then the price dived as our PM announced the start of circuit breaker, okay, to a low of 164. Okay, then before it start to pick back up again as news of phase 1 is ending, as we are about to enter phase 2. Okay, personal take, I'm invested in this as well. I believe that Frasers Centerpoint Trust will be one of the most beneficial REIT that will come into phase 2 period. As people start to come out to spend money, I believe that they will still be heading out to a suburban retail mall that is closer to them rather than going all the way out to town into area like CBD. Okay, so for me, my personal take is I would first pick would be on Fraser Centerpoint Trust, followed by Capitaland Mall Trust. Okay, now next, land lease. Let's look at the financial first. Okay, for land lease, it's trading at 68 cents the last it closed. Fun fact is actually IPO at a price of 80 plus cents, 88 or 83, which I'm not very sure. So now it's actually trading below its IPO price. No dividend yield percentage yet because it just listed last year, and it's at a price of book ratio of 0.84. So you can see that there is actually some growth to land lease. Now, if we look at the chart of land lease, okay, I'm personally invested in this as well. Okay, in the near outlook, yes, it's gonna be taking a hit because number one, the retail mall is 313, which tend to be in the town area that will not benefit so much in the phase 2 of our lockdown. Okay, but if we were to look ahead, okay, actually IPO and traded up to the price of even $1, okay, before it start to come down to 52 cents even as it slowly goes back up. Okay, now as I was say, if when I'm invested in these REITs, I take this to be of a long-term approach. I come to stand to see that land lease have many plans ahead of for its stakeholders in this space, and I believe that a price like this is still a slight discount compared to what we can get from 52 cents in March, okay, or even 47 cents low even. Okay, but I see that in the near future, things are more or less quite stable. As crowds start to pick back in phase 3, that will help for land lease to gain up what they can do in 313, and with the new 1008 square foot that they can do and the car park area, there's definitely more growth for land lease to come. Also, do look into the lease that Sky Complex actually have with the TV broadcaster Sky Sport. Okay, it's actually a super long lease, which makes the REIT more stable. Okay, and in future, if we were to inject properties like Parkway Parade or even Gem, is even more interesting take for its stakeholders as there is more upside to downside. Okay, so that's all for me today. I hope you have enjoyed, and this reference of how I analyze the stocks can be used on other REITs as well. So I'm just sharing some of the insights that I have, some of the things that I'm looking at when I'm looking at stocks, and I hope it will benefit the rest of you. So slightly long video today. Thank you all for listening. I'll see you all soon next week. Goodbye.